again, Asian Chamber of Commerce Chapter Houston. Energy and mining sectors are vital for Indonesia. 65% of Indonesia gross domestic products affected by industry, agriculture, trade, and also, of course, mining sectors. I noted that at least there are four priorities in this year and 2021. As Indonesia energy and mining sectors development closely related to investment activities, the rich is because of the richest resources of mining, and it becomes attraction to foreign and domestic investors. Oil, nickel, coal, gold are very abundant in our natural resources. United States is a close partner in this activity. So the presence of EOG resources in Houston, like Freeport, Slambeze, and also other oil companies in Indonesia, signaling the importance of the energy and the mining sectors. Today's forum put a spotlight on one of the potential projects named alumina refinery plants and also metal projects. Indonesia ease of doing business is ranked 73, but it targeted to rank 40 in the coming year. Indonesia also recently enacted Omnibus Law on Job Creation, Law number 11, year 2020, and the Amendment Law on Minerals and Coal Mining, Law number 3, year 2020. So it is really a good opportunity for everyone if you want to invest in Indonesia during this time, because in terms of legal system, we revise a lot of things to make ease of doing business in Indonesia attractive to the foreign investors. On the other side, U.S. government through Exim Bank has signed just this month amount of $750 million MOU with Indonesia's government to support the export in IT sector, energy, infrastructure, healthcare, and also other critical sectors. We also remember that energy issue is among others that is included in the 2010 U.S.-Indonesia Comprehensive Partnership. So we have signing the comprehensive partnership in energy sector in 2010 between U.S. and Indonesia. And those recent progress has made this forum is timely to be discussed. U.S. policy plan to relocate business to Southeast Asia also resonate the momentum to take Indonesia as destination for U.S. investment. Mining and smelter a good place to start the business partnership between the two due to 48 smelter projects are targeted to be completed by 2024. The COVID pandemic has given Indonesia, United States, and many countries adapt economic disruption, but ADB projected Indonesia economy to recover by April 2021 to 5% with regards to the improvement of household and business spending and inflation rate to 2.8%. All projection can be realized by the success in managing COVID by the nation, I believe. So the cooperation between Indonesia and United States is becoming highlight to achieve growth in this pandemic situation. That is why we are all here through virtual to cooperate in exploring business and investment opportunities in metal and mining sectors. Finally, I am pleased to open the Mining Forum, and thank you everyone who joined this event virtually, and may this forum be a success for the end of 2020. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now I'll pass the next session to the moderator. I would like to invite Dudi to organize the discussion, please.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Dr. Nana Yuliana, for giving us a very warm welcoming opening remark to our event. And before I begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Dudi Rendusara. I will be your moderator for the event. And on behalf of the MKU services and Consulate General of the Republic of Indonesia, I would like to welcome everyone once again in this exciting forum. Before I begin, let me set a few ground rules. First, due to the large number of audiences, all participants will be muted by the administrator while the speakers are in session. Second, instead of having a 1 hour Q&A session due to the time difference, significant time difference between Houston and Jakarta, so we will allocate actually about 10 minutes for Q&A after each speech. So therefore, please submit your questions via the chat box with your title and company name. And we will try to consolidate them and read the questions to the speaker. Again, welcome all the participants. And let me begin also by saying we are blessed today with the opportunities to hear directly from the very high profile officials from the government of Indonesia. And I also would like to mention that we have more than 350 people registering for the event. And they start coming in and trickling right now. I think it has reached more than 100 people. And we also have some distinguished guests in our virtual conferences. Among other things, we have a representative from Goldman Sachs. We also have a representative from BMO Capital, PNC Capital, Saratoga, among other things. We also have some representatives from the mining companies, from BHP, Kinross Gold, Freeport McMoran, Agincourt Resources, Ceria Nugraha, and among other things also from manufacturing companies. We should have representatives from Nippon Steel Corporation, Precious Metal, THSS Smelter, JGC Corporations, and of course we also have trade association organizations should be joining us from the Asian Chamber of Commerce. He's in Houston. We also have Indonesian American Chamber of Commerce, AIC USA, USA SEAN, and of course not to forget all the participants from Indonesia's public and private mining and manufacturing companies, which I cannot mention them all. So our first speaker, our first keynote speech will be from Dr. Ridwan Jamaluddin. He's the Director General of the Minerals and Coal Division from the Energy and Mineral Resources Ministry of the Republic of Indonesia. Mr. Jamaluddin oversees the regulations and the monitoring of all mining operations in Indonesia. And before we begin, I'd like to highlight one thing. Dr. Jamaluddin is also a graduate of Texas A&M College Station, a proud Aggie, and he's an exemplary Aggie, and certainly he's not a stranger to Texas. But without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Ridwan to provide his keynote speech.
Thank you, Dudi, Ambassador Nana, Yuliana, Pak Ikhwan, and other speakers, as well as audiences from both in the US as well as in Indonesia. Really appreciate Ibu Nana's effort to organize this event, which is very important for us in Indonesia, and also appreciate Dudi MKU. I saw here Mr. Eric James Aulia, who has been working very hard to make this forum a reality. To start with, to me, it's homework for us in Indonesia. After Minister Luhut Panjaitan met with very senior officials in the US, then we have to do something to make the 750 million deal, MOU, an actual deal in Indonesia. Let me start with some general information about the situation in Indonesia. Some has been described, mentioned by Ambassador Nana Yuliana. I'm just going straight to the global survey of Indonesia's mining and investment. Oh yeah, I have my colleague Andri to help me with the slide presentation. Go to slide number 3, please, Andri. Next slide, please. Yeah, this slide. A global survey on Indonesia's mining investment conducted in 2019 by Fraser Institute in Survey of Mining Companies has stated that Indonesia is leading in the Best Practices Mineral Potential Index, ranked third from 76 countries, which indicate that Indonesia's approach to a potential mineral deposit are based on world-class practice methods and environmental protection standards. As a result, Indonesia provides competitive tax rates, low risk of political instability, and a solution with a long-term stable mining industry regime. Indonesia's investment attractiveness consists of large mineral deposits and high policy perception index. Additionally, we can surmise based on the investment attractiveness index. In parallel with the policy perception index and best practices mineral potential index, Indonesia can be ranked as the 27th best country from a list of 76. Next slide, please. Why investing in mining in Indonesia? Indonesian mining investment opportunities also have comparable advantages. To begin with, Indonesia supersedes as the leading country with abundant ore reserves, holds a strategic role in the global market, is home to veteran operating companies, competitive cash costs, excellent environmental and safety standards, and has an abundance of highly skilled workers. In the next slide, we can see the mineral and coal reserve in Indonesia. From a mineral and coal reserve perspective, Indonesia has significantly contributed towards the world's supply and demand chains of materials, such as nickel, bauxite, copper, gold, tin, and coal. In addition to this reserve, the requirement to increase value-added products has propelled the establishment of smelter and refinery plants within the country. For example, we now have 12 smelter plants already in operation, and 18 more plants are in the development. For bauxites, 2 smelters are already in operation, and 9 more are in development. And lastly, 13 companies for gold and 19 for tin are already in operation. Based on the value-added policy, Indonesia is now wide open for businesses. We welcome investors to be part of the transformation of Indonesia and to become an important part of the global supply chain. Next slide, please. I would like to share with you Indonesian minerals and coal production. Based on the USGS data in 2020, Indonesia plays a strategic role in the supply of minerals and coal to the world markets, such as nickel, #1 producer, 29% of world's production, bauxite, #6 producer, 4% of world's production, copper, #12 producer, 2% of world's production, gold, #6, 6% of world's production, tin, #2, 26%, coal, #4, contributes 77% of the world's production. All of this has made Indonesia a very strategic place for investors to become important players in the world's coal and mineral supply chain. Next, let me share with you some operating companies in Indonesia. As is an ideal place to grow investment because it offers world-class mining operators, among which have been in the business since 1967. While we now have many mining companies in operation, we still need to increase the refining capacity within the country. Therefore, there are wide open opportunities for investors to invest into the downstream part of the industry for commodities such as nickel, bauxite, copper, gold, tin, and coal. Next slide. I would like to share with you the cash cost of mineral production in Indonesia. Its geographical location, skilled human resources, and competitive energy prices makes Indonesia a very competitive place for mineral production from a cash cost perspective compared to the global average cost. For example, it costs around 3.6 to 3.8 US$ per pound in order to produce nickel, compared to $5 per pound the global cost. This pattern is also true for the production of cost of alumina, copper, gold, and tin. This makes Indonesia an ideal place for promising returns for investors. Next slide, which is very important for us, the environment and safety standard. In terms of mining operation, Indonesia requires high standards in the environmental protection compliance by implementing environmental permits, reclamation and post-mining duties, forest use licenses, and enforcement of high mining safety standard to reach a zero accident goal. The environment has provided the norms, standard, procedure, and criteria in managing mining safety, as well as performing training and monitoring of mining companies. Next, I would like to share with you the availability of workforce. In general, workforce in Indonesia is young and highly skilled. 23,000 are readily available. 9,800 workers with technical mining background, 1,110 with technical metallurgy, material and chemistry background, 3,570 workers with geophysics background, 8,618 workers with geology background. So as a whole, and the mining opportunities in Indonesia, I would like to convey to all of you, next slide please, that by looking at Indonesia's leading position from the perspective of reserve, strategic role in the global market, veteran operating companies, competitive cash costs, exceptional environmental and safety standard, readily available skilled workforce, and the requirement to produce value-added products within the country, therefore there are wide open opportunities for investment, especially in developing greenfield for exploration, increasing added value downstream of mineral, development and utilization of coal downstreaming program. For greenfield exploration and downstreaming, the development of greenfield for exploration is still wide open for commodities. Next slide, please. Such as nickel, bauxite, copper, gold, and tin. In addition, investment opportunities are also subject to meet the requirement of increasing value-added products, such as the construction of mineral smelters or refineries within the country. With the initiation of the policy in 2019, Indonesia has become a key player in supplying the world's metals and has significantly increased the construction of 18 mineral refining facilities. However, there is still a need to build 35 more mineral refinery facilities, which is still in progress and is open for investors to become part of the transformation process. For example, let's see the coal downstreaming programs. It includes coal gasification, coke making, underground coal gasification, and coal liquefaction. To conclude my talk, let me say that Indonesia has an incredibly important role in the global mineral and coal supply chains, and the government of Indonesia has continuously put the utmost effort to attract investors and at the same time has improved the ease of investing in the country. This is shown by the improving investment ranking recognition from international rating agencies year over year. And at this opportunity, We look forward to your participation in becoming part of the transformation process and the mining management of Indonesia, and will make Indonesia a safe, peaceful, and rewarding place for your investment. Finally, let me thank the Ambassador, Consul General in Houston, MQ Services, LLC, in this Indonesia Mining and Metal Investment Forum. Again, let me share with you this information, and please come back with us if you have any interesting response to my presentation. Thank you very much. Papa Dudi.
So I'd like to open, as I said, for questions and answer. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to type and mention your name and your company in the chat box, and we'll try to read your questions. So we haven't received any questions yet. So so maybe if you still plan to be around, Mr. Ridwan, we can start with the second keynote, and then we'll follow up with the questions after we collect all of them. And
no problem, I'm around.
Okay, thank you. And so our second keynote speech will be from Mr. Nurul Ikhwan. Mr. Ikhwan is the Deputy Chairman for the Investment Planning Division from the Investment Coordinating Board of the Republic of Indonesia, and also known as BKPM. So part of the function of the coordinating body to analyze, develop the plan, and coordinate the potential investment opportunities in Indonesia on the national level. So last year, President Jokowi, President of the Republic of Indonesia, has broadened the scope of BKPM's authority to also handle all forms of licensing previously handled by various government institutions. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Mr. Nurul to provide his keynote speech.
Thank you, Mr. Dudi, and also very well, thank you for a very nice introductions about our institutions, BKPM. And also, I just would like also to convey my regards to Her Excellency, Dr. Nana Yuliana, Consul General of the Republic of Indonesia, Designated Ambassador for Cuba, and then also Honorable Dr. Ridwan Jamaluddin, the Dirjen, and then also Honorable Mr. Eric James, Commercial Director, MKU, LLC. This Honorable Mr. Raj Kanan from Deloitte Indonesia, Partner Energy, Resources, and Industrial Lead. Honorable Mr. Vidya Putra Suyasa Besar, Chief Representative Bank Indonesia in New York. Honorable Ms. Paula Swain, Managing Director, Export-Import Bank of the United States. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a very great honor for me to be invited as a keynote speaker in Indonesia Mining and Metals Forum. For investors in the mining and metal sectors in Indonesia. I also extend a very warm because he's not able to be around with us. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have already known that the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on investment is quite serious. It is not only impacting a big country like United States, but it is also experienced by Indonesia. So in general, we have seen that the impact of this pandemic COVID into two different impacts. The one is the impact that gives a kind of delay into investment because of the decrease of income on the business in these sectors. But the second one is also opening the new opportunity for the sectors in healthcare, R&D, and then also other things related with the healthcare. So we are also witness that the global growth in Q3, especially 2020, it is also impacting all the countries. And for Indonesia case, our economy contracted for 3.49, but it is still better than the previous quarter, which was 5.32 contractions. And it is also giving the impact to the global FDI that is predicted slowing down or decrease by 30 to 40%. And for this, but I could also share with you on the FDI and DDI realizations in Indonesia, we are still experiencing of a very good situations. So we could see Indonesia investment progress from January to September 2020. We could see that the realization from January to September 2020 is reaching around 42.5 billion US dollars, which is 74.8% of the total target of investment in Indonesia for this year. That is 817.2 trillion, or equals to 56.7 billion rupiahs. And this also give the impact into the spreading of this investment from Java and outside Java, because Java is most developed island compared to the rest. So it is still getting much more better, because the other area outside of Java experience of 49.7% of the shares. And when we talk about domestic direct investment compared to foreign direct investment, so the DDI for this period is also getting much more better, because it has 50.7%, but for the FDI is 49.3%. And it absorbs manpower in Indonesia for 861,581. Ladies and gentlemen, I could also share more detailed information about investment interest or domestic and also foreign direct investment in Indonesia, because based on our online single submission statistic data for the period of January to September 2020, we could see that here the increase of business registration number that indicates about the interest of investment coming to Indonesia. And in regards to business license as well, it means that those who are having implementations on their investment, we could see a bit fluctuative, but it is also showing a good situation. And when we talk about the accumulative of DDI and foreign direct investment, of course, the impact of this pandemic to foreign direct investment is also not that good, because it's just gave an opportunity to Indonesia receiving only a very small amount of this compared to the previous period. But for the DDI, when it is combinations between small and medium enterprises and then also non-small and medium enterprises, it is also getting much more better, especially in the month of September, we could see the peak of our achievement there. And the next slides, I could share with you as well something related with investment in minerals and metal industries after the enactment of mining law. The first one was the law number 4 that was enacted in 2009. If you could see here, it is giving also a very good impact, because right after the implementations, we could see the increase on the mining and then also on the metal industry. But we have also make a kind of renewal on, a kind of mining law, like a kind of amendment, become number 3, 2020, that was enacted started from June 10, 2020. We could see here that the increase of metal industry is very, very significant, especially after the enactment of this law. But if you could see from the mining, mineral mining here, the productions here could see that it is a decrease. So this is something that could make a kind of worry for us, because the supply of this mineral is decreasing, but the industry for the metal industry is increasing. But actually, this word is having no reason, because on the next slides, we could see here that this is Indonesia mineral potential map that we could have. And you could see here, and especially when we talk about the bauxite itself, we have also proven reserves here about 821 million metric tons. And also the total reserve is 2.8 billion metric tons. And this will be ended up to 97 years when we talk about bauxite itself. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, now I just would like to share with you the investment climate and opportunities in the mining and metal industries. So I just would like to jump this one and the next slide was explained by Ridwan just now. Now, I just would like to share with you top 20 countries in project plain mining sectors for 2020. So the top 20 countries for mining project development in 2020. Indonesia is on the top 5 as well, because the first is China, and then followed by Australia, India, Canada, Indonesia, and so on. So it means that for Indonesia, we are still having on the top 20 countries in project plan. And in Indonesian agencies of national planning, we have also indicated for 31 smelter areas in Indonesia that will be developed. This is on top of the ones that have just explained by DG Ridwan. So this is also the thing that we would like to develop from 2020 to 2024. The smelter area that will consist of a nickel, iron, copper, bauxite, and lead. So this is also the one that BKPM has an interest in doing promotions on the project in this smelter industry. Now, the things that is very, very top and hot in the discussions in Indonesia, it is about law number 11 of 2020 concerning job creations. So this is the law that was actually initiated by the idea of our President Joko Widodo, because he would like to have Indonesia to be a country that has economic competitiveness, and then also having economic transformations that was created by commodities, but we would like to have also transformations by making a kind of more downstreaming of these commodities into industry. And at the same time also, we would like to have a kind of so-called economic democracy. It means that we would like to give more access to small and medium enterprises to have participations in doing investment together with big investment, both from domestic as well as foreign direct investment. It means that BKPM and the government of Indonesia would like to provide partnerships between big companies and also small and medium enterprises in Indonesia to take participations in doing investment in Indonesia. And also on this law number 11, or it was also famous by omnibus law. So this is something that is a very, very significant change, because at the time of the licensing process, it used to be a bit complicated, and at least more complicated compared to the new one that will be implemented. And the approach that we are going to use for this new regime of law, we are using business license based on the risk. So the risk itself classified into 4 levels. The first is low risk. And for this low risk, it's only registrations for the running the business, and then also lower medium risk that will require business identity number, and then also the standard of certifications. And upper medium risk, this will require also an IB or business identity number, and also standard of certifications. But for the higher risk, this will require an IB or business identity number, and also a license. So, but at least through this kind of approach, it is also followed by the simplifications of the steps in getting the license, and also accelerations in getting license itself. Because currently, based on this law number 11, we are also designing the regulations that will put norms, standard, and procedures in getting the license in various sectors that will be also involve related ministries in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, I just would like now to share the last slide that I have, that is fiscal incentive for investment. So it means that if you have a kind of interest in investment in Indonesia, the government of Indonesia has provided these incentives for doing investment. So among others, the incentives themselves are tax holiday and mini tax holiday that could be granted to the companies that they are going to get 50 to 100% corporate income tax exemptions for 5 to 20 years, depending on the amount of value of investment. And then the second incentives is tax allowance that will give a kind of reductions on corporate income tax by 30% within 5 years. So this is also the regulations that will also give another incentive, like a kind of accelerations of depreciations, carry forward losses, and other things. And the third is import duty exemptions. Import duty exemption incentive for import of machineries and goods and materials, especially for industry, but it is also given to certain services that will import machineries for their business. And the fourth is super tax reduction incentive. This is especially net income tax reductions for investors that conduct apprenticeships and also training for Indonesia workers, and also research in the country. And last but not least is also labor-intensive industry tax incentive. But the things that I need also to share with you to close my presentations, all of this kind of process currently is under BKPM, under online single submissions. It used to be in other Ministry of Law, so then the coordinations, it used to be very complicated and taking longer step and time. And now BKPM, based on presidential instructions, we have the right to decide about giving this tax holiday to the potential investors. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess I have shared with you the important things that I need to deliver to you. I do hope these presentations will give a kind of information that will be very useful for you to take your considerations to choose Indonesia as your destination for your investment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nurul, for very elaborate explanations, and it's very interesting. They have so many, what do you call it, tax holidays, incentives, and so forth, and hopefully that will generate a lot of interest for the companies to come and join the Indonesia transformations. So before I begin with the next speaker, I'd like to invite Ambassador Dr. Nana Yuliana to welcome a couple of distinguished guests to our conference. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I just would like to recognize and express my appreciation to Ambassador Chepi. Ambassador Chepi is our Indonesian ambassador in Mexico. Thank you for joining in. And we also have Mr. Bin Yu, the president of Asian American Chamber of Commerce based in Houston. And also we have in our participants, the member of the National Energy Board of Indonesia, Ambassador Yusra Khan. So thank you for joining in. Maybe Ambassador Chepi, if you want to say a few words, please welcome. Are you here, Pak Chepi? All right, if maybe somewhere, but then may I invite Mr. Bin Yu, please. Mr. Yu, would you say a few words before we are still waiting for the question from the floor, from the participants?
Hello, Dr. Nana. Thank you very much for the opportunity. We are very excited to partner with Indonesia Consul again on this very important event. And I believe we have quite a few members joining this meeting as well. And we're looking for great partnership investment opportunity. I hope for the better, exciting outcome too. So thank you, Dr. Nana, again.
Thank you, Mr. Yu, for the support and the cooperation in having this meeting. I know I recognize also the presence of Ambassador Yu. Can you say a few words? Are you not here yet, or I saw his.
Okay, maybe we will wait for Yusra later. And I'll return back, hand over to a moderator again, please.
I also would like to add, we have a representative from the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce, Indonesian American Chamber of Commerce in Houston branch. And again, let me go back to, so we have a few questions here. So let me read those questions. And first is for Mr. Our Director General, Dr. Ridwan. So the first question is, can you hear me, Dr. Ridwan?
Excuse me, Ridwan still the telephone.
Okay, so I will then ask the questions for Mr. Nurul. So okay, here is the questions. Okay, Mr. Nurul, first question is, what is the new BKPM Foreign Capital Investment Board rules and regulations to foreign investors? Are we allowed to have 99% equity shares?
All right. Yes, thank you, Pak Dudi. Based on our regulations, it is depending on the business that you are in. Because most of the businesses for you, it is open 100% for foreign direct investment. But please also bear in mind, even though it is open 100% for foreign direct investment, it is also a must for you of having at least 2 parties in establishment of your business in Indonesia. 2 parties themselves could be individuals, could be also company and individuals, and could be companies and companies. But at the same time as well, some of the license could be given to you when you have to make a kind of joint ventures with the domestic investors or your local partners in Indonesia. So it is depending on the line of business that you are in. But in most of industry, it is open 100% for foreign direct investment.
Okay.
Even more than 99%. But only some of them, like let's say a business in marijuana cultivations, it is closed. Not only for foreign direct investment, it is closed as well for domestic investment. And also, let's say, running of museum, it is closed for foreign direct investment. But most of processing industry, especially, it is open 100% for foreign direct investment.
So we have basically the possibilities to have the 99% of ownerships. It depends on the size of the investments, as well as what type of industries they are interested in. Is that correct, Pak?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. So we have another questions while we're waiting for Pak Dirjan. How to proceed to obtain the tax holiday? Free tax for a certain period, or how long can it be?
Yeah, this is the tax holiday that currently is granted for the companies investment, both domestic and foreign direct investment, when they are classified into a kind of pioneer industry. Pioneer industry itself, it doesn't mean that, let's say, Indonesia is having also, of course, a train in Indonesia, but when we talk about, let's say, like a bullet transportations train, it is something that is new. So this one could be considered of having a kind of tax allowance. So when we talk about this tax holiday, it mentions that we have various kind of tax guarantee based on amount of investment. So if you could see here, for the amount of investment from 2.5 million up to 69 million, this will be granted with 5 years of tax holiday. It is going through the one that is more than 2 billion, $2 billion value of investment, that we granted with 2 years of this. But this is not a process that will be followed by the implementations. At the initial stage, applications for doing Indonesia, let's say you are granted with this 5 years or 2 years of this tax holiday, but the implementations, the amount that will be realized finally in your investment plan will be determined also the granting of this tax holiday to your business. So it means that it should be consequences of decreasing or even if, revoking of this kind of tax holiday if your realizations doesn't match with any of the minimum value of investment. That should be a kind of base calculations for giving the tax holiday.
So the last questions for Pak Nurul is basically where and who are in charge and how can we get their phone number and email addresses?
Yeah, for you who are living in the United States, we have here is Mr. Angga. That's the representative of Indonesia Investment Promotion Center in New York. He is based in New York, so he'll be your contact person to discuss and to get the information and even to assist you in getting all the information for your investment interest in Indonesia. So I do hope that Mr. Angga, you could type your mobile number in this chat so that everybody can text you.
All right, thank you. So yes, I would like to now go to Dr. Ridwan. We have a few questions for you. Okay, the first question is, what and how is the procedures in Indonesia if we would like to develop a joint venture, for example, with the existing gold mining company, whereas they got all licenses except they are short of investment fundings, bankability, of course, and this is questions from Siamex in Singapore.
Right. Andri, are you with me? Andri?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, my colleague Andri will respond to this question. Andri, please.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for the opportunities. Let me answering the questions. So, for foreign direct investor who wants to invest in mining, they can directly chip in into the mining as long as have permissions from the ministry. So first, you can chip in into the share directly, or you can joint venturing by honoring the permit in mining. So you can directly chip in into the mining ownership. That's all, sir.
So I think I think this question is from Mr. Stephen Ong and MKU Services. We are more than happy to help you as well to get you through and in contact with the right authorities, and please send us your contacts and we can follow up with you. And the next question for Dr. Ridwan is basically which department of yours at the ESDM in Jakarta is responsible for gold mining investment matters? Could I have the right address and name of the right person in charge with contact number if possible? And
all right, sorry, Dudi. It's under my supervision. You can reach me, or you could also contact my colleague Andri, and there's Mr. Yunus as well in the forum. So I'll type in my mobile number and email address in the chat room. Thanks.
Yes, okay, thank you. The next question is, as foreign investor, what will be, okay, I will say there's a rephrase the questions here. Let me follow up the next one. So as foreign investor, what will be the regulation of your, the Ministry of ESDM? Are we allowed to export, say, 50% of our gold medals after completed and certified to meet the Indonesian standard and international standard? How about the taxation, and where can we obtain details, information about these matters, such as where to refine the finished gold purity? For example, PT Antam?
Yeah. Andri, go ahead, Andri.
Okay, thank you, sir. So everyone can sell, can export the mining, the gold after they reaching some specifications. In Indonesia, there are requirements to refine the gold domestically after reaching the specifications 99% of AU of gold. So after that, mining permit holder can directly sell to directly export the gold. There are no taxations because the gold is a precious metal, so there are no taxations for the export duty or something else, because we are already signed the ASEAN Free Trade agreements on gold as one of the goods, the good that they are in free on trading overseas. That's all, sir. Moderator,
Yeah,
Dudi.
yeah. Thank you, Pak Andri. And we have a question here from the U.S.-Indonesia Chamber of Commerce. Okay, so the question is, this is Mr. Wayne Forrest. Question is, how does the government know that smelters will be profitable? Chile is a large copper producer and refines it to a high level, but does not require smelter construction. I'm wondering if that is because it's not all that profitable given worldwide conditions in that metal. Thank you. That's the question. So the question, I guess, is why do you think that the smelters will be profitable?
From different perspective, downstream industry or value added is required by the law in Indonesia. Based on some smelters that have been in operation, they are profitable. So we can start with FSU. Would like to, if you have your own arguments on that, please share with us. For example, if we discuss with Freeport Indonesia, for example, in developing their smelter, we are in deep discussion about the numbers, the calculation, all the quantification of numbers. So basically, we by law you have to build a smelter, and also we believe that it's still profitable. Thank you.
All right, so I think we still have a few more minutes for about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and we have extra time because of the ambassador of Indonesia didn't make it to the meeting. So I think there is one more question for Pak Nurul. So the question is, my name is Endang Hadiputro and representing Indonesian American Chamber of Commerce. To Pak Nurul, what do you see the impact of the changing presidency in the US to the Indonesia trade?
All right. Very good and very nice questions. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess Indonesia and the government of Indonesia in facilitating the business, whether it is investment, tourism, or also trading, we just see business as business, and it is based on our mutual benefit. And we don't see any change on the approach for facilitating of business players, both from Indonesia and also from the United States, because we know that both countries have a kind of potentials to collaborate, and especially the things that we have to do, that Indonesia could be one of the best partner for you in doing business for ASEAN countries. And then also we know that United States is also one of very important partners for us in doing business, including trading and also investment. So in this case, whoever will be governing of United States, for us, United States is still the very best partner for us in expanding our business and partnerships.
Thank you, Mr. Nur. I think we can wrap up the keynote speakers, and we can follow up with the other questions, and you can keep sending the questions. Because of time, we'd like to take it to the next speaker. And for that, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Ms. Paula Swain. She's here. She's the Managing Director of Export-Import Bank of the United States. She would speak on the topic of EXIM in financing mining project. As you may have read, probably, the Ambassador Lutfi, Coordinating Minister for Maritime and International Investment Affairs, Mr. Luhut Panjaitan, as well as the Chairwoman of EXIM Bank, Ms. Kimberly Reid, have agreed to sign a MOU between EXIM and the government of Indonesia to explore and identify potential opportunities for financing in Indonesia. And I think this is a very good opportunity to hear from Mrs. Paula the follow-up on that MOU. And without further ado, I would like to invite Mrs. Paula to give her presentation. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to participate. This is a real honor. I'm Paula Swain. I'm in the Project Finance Division of the Export-Import Bank. I actually live and work here in the Houston area. I'm in the Commodities Division. I cover commodities transactions, so it's natural that I live in Houston, which, as everyone knows, is the oil and gas capital of the world. For those that aren't familiar with EXIM Bank, EXIM is the Export-Import Bank of the United States. We're the official export credit agency of the U.S. government. And our mission is to support U.S. jobs through financing of exports. And that's a wide range of financial products that I'll talk about a bit later in my comments. We have a rich history, and we have been in business for almost 85 years. I'm happy to be here to talk about what we can do in Indonesia on the heels of our chairman's trip to Indonesia. She accompanied a large U.S. delegation that included the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, which formerly was known by OPIC, and the U.S. Departments of Energy, State, Treasury, and Commerce. And after that trip to Indonesia, there was a large $275 million memorandum of understanding that was signed in Washington with the Indonesian ambassador. So today we're talking about mining projects, and we would love to be able to use some of that MOU to support mining projects in Indonesia. Over the last 25 years, EXIM Bank has supported $2.75 billion of U.S. goods and services to mining projects globally. We have supported these exports through two different approaches. The first approach is what we refer to as corporate finance, and that's where we look at an existing corporation with operations and financial statements that can support the underlying credit that is being requested. In addition to that, we can look at things on what we call a project finance basis, and those are typically greenfield or large project expansions where lenders look to future cash flows to support the servicing of the debt. And that's been the way that we've supported most of the mining sector activities at EXIM Bank. In fact, in 1997, our newly formed Project Finance Division supported its very first mining project on a project finance basis, and it was in Indonesia, known as Batu Hijau. That was a very important transaction for EXIM Bank. At about the same time, we were very active in Indonesia. We had two major power projects that we supported, the Paiton project as well as Jawa. And we also, a bit later, supported a major reconfiguration of the Cilacap refinery. And I understand right now that Indonesia is looking at other large reconfigurations of their refinery sector. So EXIM Bank has a long and rich history in Indonesia. And we're very interested in supporting new opportunities for U.S. exports under this Memorandum of Understanding. When we're looking at structured or project financings, what we look for are projects with a strong sponsor group with experience and deep equity. We look for a strong commercial rationale that underpins the transaction with an appropriate return for the equity holders. World-class engineering, procurement, and construction contractors that can absorb that construction risk. Solid resource supported by third-party consultants. So we'd look at a very rich resource to support the feed of the smelters. We look for transparent regulatory framework. And of course, we adhere to IFC environmental guidelines. So they would have to be compliant with our environmental approach. So that's the way we approach project financings. For those that maybe aren't big enough to support a project financing, we offer a range of financing products that most can access. One of the most popular programs we offer is short-term export credit insurance. That's where we can insure foreign accounts receivable, which is very important if you're a U.S. exporter. It takes away the need for a letter of credit. You can offer open account terms, which is very attractive to foreign buyers. You will also be able to be paid in the event there is a non-payment by the foreign buyer by filing a claim with Ex-Im Bank. And most importantly, you can use Ex-Im Bank export credit insurance with your bank to the extent that you have a working capital line of credit that supports a borrowing base, which is usually accounts receivable as well as work in progress or an inventory. And export credit insurance can be accessible directly through Ex-Im Bank, or there's a wide network of export credit insurance brokers that are happy to help you. And the great thing about export insurance brokers is that you don't pay the fee, Ex-Im Bank pays the fee. The next popular program, which is used extensively and particularly in the Houston area, is the Working Capital Program. And that provides an Ex-Im Bank guarantee to banks that extend working capital for companies that export. We have relationships with big banks as well as regional and local banks that have what we call delegated authority. And that means that they can approve working capital transactions that are supported by Ex-Im Bank's guarantee without having to get approval from the Washington, D.C. office. So it's very fast and a very effective way that we can support exporters in various communities. And then finally, the area that I'm most involved in is foreign buyer credit. And that's where we support the financing of capital goods that are sold by U.S. exporters to foreign buyers. The bulk of that activity our two largest areas of support are transportation, of course, through Boeing aircraft, the financing of Boeing aircraft, and then what we call commodities, which is inclusive of oil and gas. So the two largest sectors that we support. One great product that we can offer to U.S. exporters, and for that matter, we can also offer it to foreign buyers, is what we refer to as a letter of interest. It's an indicative letter that talks about Ex-Im Bank's potential support of financing U.S. exports, and it's a very effective tool for U.S. exporters that are either entering into new relationships with a foreign buyer, or they're preparing a bid proposal in response to a tender. It's a quick letter that you can get by applying online. It's processed in 5 to 7 business days. It costs $100. And if there's a need to tailor the letter for a particular tender, we're willing to do that. So what I've covered are the basic programs. I'd also like to talk a little bit about a new program that we have. Ex-Im Bank was recently reauthorized in December of 2019 for 7 years. And that reauthorization of 7 years doesn't limit the term of financing that we can offer. It just means at the end of a 7-year period, we will have to go back to Congress to get reauthorized. But in our last authorization, strongly encouraged to support what we call transformative exports. And these are industries that are new and have significant opportunities to expand U.S. content throughout the world. These include telecommunications, specifically 5G, biotech effort to support those particular areas. We also have new authority to match the financing that's offered by Chinese firms. From time to time, we hear through U.S. exporters that the Chinese have very aggressive financing terms, and now we have the ability to match those financing terms as long as I am. There's a great deal of information that's available on the website that explains our programs, how we look at U.S. content, some of our policies, applications, all that information. And additionally, you can reach out and speak with me if you're a respond. Again, I thank you for allowing me to participate, and we would love to expand our commercial relationships with U.S. exporters that are looking to do business in Indonesia and support U.S. foreign direct investment to the extent that that's an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
I think it's very interesting, and I think the U.S. is the messages that I got is basically U.S. is trying to be aggressive to help, right? And she does this. Okay, there you go. So U.S. is willing to basically help, and even I like this word, matching finance. You know, if as long as the U.S. is given the opportunity, I think it's willing to match. It's just like when I go to Walmart, say match the price.
I like
right,
that.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that's how far I think the U.S. is committed to help, you know, Indonesia, the investment communities and the mining companies to complete the transformation, like Pak Dirjen said. And let me see if I have some questions here. Okay, so I do have, okay, so here, this is Mr. Suha Kokabal from the AF Capital Partners. And the question is referred to you, Ms. Paula. He says, hi, Paula. Will Exim Bank be able to apply new U.S. content rule for these types of projects? Please reach us at SK. I'll give you that information.
Okay. So we recently have had a change to our content rules. Because we're a U.S. government agency funded by U.S. taxpayers, and because our mission is to support U.S. jobs, we look to U.S. content. Our content rules have not changed as the U.S. Supply chain has changed over the last 20, 30 years or so, but there has been a recent change. It's a very kind of complicated policy. I don't think I would use my time effectively if I went into, I would say, the weeds to explain it. But the content rules are very clear on our website, and the exciting thing is that there has been some change to our content rules, and staff is very happy with that because we do receive a lot of comments, I would say, from U.S. exporters, understanding that over the last 10 to 15 years, other export credit agencies, whether it be France, Italy, the British, their content rules have become more flexible where ours have not. But there is some new flexibility. We're very excited about that, and we look forward to that in the future.
So we have another question.
Okay.
So the next question is, how can we get your representatives in Singapore and Indonesia? And do you have an address?
So right now, the furthest that the bank will allow transaction personnel is to live in Houston, Texas. so Singapore and Indonesia, that's far away. However, once we have the ability to travel, we're not really, staff is not traveling right now because of COVID concerns. But once these vaccinations, which are being rolled out right now to the important healthcare workers that are taking care of our country, as soon as those vaccinations are more readily available to everyone and regular commercial activity begins to return, I would expect staff will be able to travel at that point. And we do, Indonesia is one of the countries that's on top of the list. When we do travel to foreign countries, we always coordinate our travel through the U.S. Embassy there. We also work very closely with American Chambers of Commerce and banks and some of these multipliers so that we can reach as much of the commercial people as possible. So when there is a trip to Indonesia, we will certainly let the consulate here in Houston aware of it, as well as the U.S. Foreign Commercial Service that serves in Indonesia. So hopefully we can arrange programs when we're in country. But right now we're all working safely from home. I'm sorry, this is a treat for me because I've been home since March.
Okay, great.
So I'm very excited
and
to
we're
get
glad
up
to have you here. The contact phone numbers and email addresses that will be available in your website, right?
Yes. And
so,
what I can do is leave it for you and you can share it as needed.
Yes. So we have the next question. We have a couple more questions for you. So what will be the role with your Exim Bank in case we buy gold mining equipment from the US? So on the same token, can Exim Bank involve in funding proportion of our, for example, JV gold mining company?
So we don't offer equity investment. What we provide is debt financing. So to the extent that you're buying US manufactured equipment, we can finance that. And we can finance that for a period that's just a bit shorter than the useful life. If we were financing a brand new gold project, we could do the maximum repayment term. That would be construction plus a maximum repayment term of 14 years. If we're just doing rolling stock, if we're just doing CAT trucks, then the repayment may not be 14 years, it may be 10 years. So as a member of the OECD, the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, there is a set of what they refer to as guidelines. It's, I think, officially called the arrangement. And that's where all OECD countries agree to terms and conditions of financing. And that the purpose of that is to make sure there's a level playing field, that everybody's playing from the same rules. So for project financings, we can do construction up to 14 years. If it's more of a corporate credit, say an existing company that needs a new Caterpillar, then we could finance that potentially up to 10 years, depending on the useful life of that particular asset.
All right, so, okay, there is a request to have your information available. And yeah, maybe if you can write it down, I'll type it here for everyone. And the last question is, can Exim Bank recommend a short list, for example, gold mining consultants, also gold mining equipment manufacturers, perhaps, that we may be working closely for a long-term business relationships?
So the way I look at it is Exim, if you look at the dog, Exim Bank is the tip of the tail of the dog. We come at the very end. But we do have very strong relationships with other U.S. government agencies that can help in the process to get to a point where you're financing a U.S. export. The very first agency that a lot of people work with is the Department of Commerce. And here in Houston, we have a very active Department of Commerce office. And they can help identify foreign agents to represent U.S. exporters. They can identify U.S. exporters that maybe foreign buyers would like to purchase from. So that's a great resource, and I can share contacts for the Houston office as well. Then we also have something called the Trade Development Agency, and they can provide funding, grant funding for feasibility studies. So if you think you have a mining opportunity, but you need to have a feasibility study, the Trade Development Agency can fund that. And the rationale about that particular agency is that if it is a U.S. company that's funding a feasibility study, it's more likely that U.S. exporters would follow if that project moves forward. So there's the Trade Development Agency, the Department of Commerce that has a wide range of services. There is a sister agency that we have called the Development Finance Corporation, now known as DFC. It used to be referred to as the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, and they can help with U.S. investment. They can't necessarily identify U.S. investors per se, but what they can do is help support that U.S. investment. They also do have some, my understanding is in the near future, they'll have some development funds where they can invest some amounts of equity, but I don't think that they're considerable dollar amounts. I think they would be pretty small percentages, but investment is necessary and required. That may be an opportunity for DFC.
So if you don't mind, I have a question here, not directly related to you,
Sure.
but I think we have time.
Sure.
So maybe, I don't know who is the right person to answer it. Maybe this is from Dr. Ridwan. And smelting requires significant amounts of fuel and electric power. Since both of these are currently subsidized by the government of Indonesia, doesn't limit it. For example, just one for each, namely Pertamina and PLN. So the question I will boil down to is what do you think is there a risk on this aspect if the subsidies of these fuels? The question I boil down is what do you think, like Pertamina and PLN. PLN is the national electric company. For example, sometime in the future removed the political risk. I think it's because the PLN and the Pertamina are the two examples that are supplying fuel and electric power.
Dudi, I can.
But then cannot understand my question. Okay, so let me remove my mask. Sorry. So, so the question is, Paridwan, currently the mining companies are, in terms of the electricity and fuel, are being subsidized, right? Receive subsidies indirectly. The fact that the electricity costs are subsidized by the companies are taking advantages of the subsidies. So what do you think is the risk when these subsidies are taken away from these two companies?
All right, thank you. Sorry, thank you for the question. In general, all those companies, I mean, all those potential investor can obtain fuel and electricity from the market. So it simply depends on the business to business deal between the investors to either PLN or Pertamina.
Okay, Pak. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Mrs. Paula.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Paula, want to give the appreciation.
Oh, thank you very much.
So, can you move the video camera?
This is just an appreciation to Paula Swan. She is always supporting the consulate for any event, especially dealing with energy. So thank you, Paula.
Thank you very much. And I wish you all the best on your new post.
Thank you so much.
You'll get to watch really great baseball.
I will.
I'm very jealous.
Thank you.
Can you move the camera back? All right. Thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Dwitya Putra Besar. He's the chief representative of the Bank of Indonesia in New York. So Mr. Putra has held various positions in international financial institutions in London, Tokyo, and recently in New York. Mr. Putra will present the topic of macroeconomic and financial opportunity for Indonesia's metal and mining industry 2021. I'd like to welcome Dr. Putra.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dudi. Her Excellency, Dr. Yuliana, His Excellency, Ambassador Cepi Wartono, keynote speaker, Dr. Ridwan Jamaluddin, Deputy Nurul Ikhwan, and panelists, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, today in New York, we are preparing for the heaviest snow in 10 years. But I feel very optimistic and warm in this forum after hearing what Dirjen Ridwan said, Ibu Nana, and also from Pak Ikhwan, and feel warm about the future and the outlook of the economic of financial condition in Indonesia. Yeah, of the total 16 risks that usually become a concern of the investor or lenders, I will complement the previous speaker by giving assurance for the other 40% related to from the foreign exchange risk, economy, inflation, and other risks related to the optimism in the business sectors. So now I would like to start with the international issue. Globally, we all know that the COVID has been spreading and increased quite significantly. Last month, it was already 55 million people infected. And now it is more than 60 million. And of course, the total death has been also increased from 1.3 million to 1.6 million. So this has been very significant issue globally. Why is it happen? We can see on the left side that some countries has been experienced a second wave and third wave of the daily average increase. And also we see some countries experience second wave Although the good thing is that that Asian countries has been performed quite well in terms of managing the spreading of the virus, and also the fatality rate has been under control. We can see from the graph on the left bottom side. So hopefully that this condition, of course, will influence the economic sectors. We see here some economic indicators show improvement. For example, in China, number of cases have been contained, and it seems that the non-manufacturing sector has been expansion supported by service sectors, and also U.S. manufacturing sector also has been expanding, although we see that in terms of the service sector, we still lag behind because of the lockdown and the increase of the COVID in the U.S. But we have very hope that it will be recovered soon after the vaccine distribution, because we see that consumer confidence is still optimistic, and also in the Europe. So this is very important. The improved condition in terms of the how we contain the virus, and also the economic improvement in advanced economy, this means that it will improve the global demand. Global demand, not only in the product, but especially in the metal and the mining products. So this is our optimistic for the future, that we see here the US, the Europe, Japan, and China has been improved in terms of their economic growth projection in 2020 and in 2021, except India, that's still struggling with how they can contain the spreading of the virus. So that's why the global growth is projected to be improved from contraction 5.2 to 4.4. This is very good news. And also in 2020 from 5.4 to 4.2. Why is it happen? Because of the game changer. The game changer is the vaccine. In the first half of 2020, we can see the Sinovac, Pfizer, Moderna, and University of Melbourne has been in the phase 3 of the process. Even the Pfizer has been approved of the emergency action last week in UK, and also this week in the US. So hopefully this will prevent the spreading of the virus further. So that's why in the graph we can see that the economic growth will be improved in the 2021. So we can see also the same positive development in Indonesia. Indonesian economy, although still in contraction in Q3 by 3.5%, but it is improved from the previous quarter that was minus 5.3%. So we expect that this will rebound after the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, and in 2020. So we can see here all the components of the economic growth has been improved, except only we can see here only the consumption of the non-profit institution is still like little behind, but this will be improved as the increasing investment and export. And also here we can see that most of the important sector has been improved or rebound from the previous quarter. For example, the sectors that have recorded high growth in Q3 was the information and communication, and also health service and other activities. Other sectors also improving, manufacturing, all the important sectors, trading, agriculture, forestry, and also the fisheries construction, transportation and warehousing, and also provision of accommodation, food and beverage. Although we see here that mining and excavation still in the zone of contraction, but as the global demand has been improved, as we see from the previous slide, this will have also positive effect to the mining sector. Especially, we see that the main our export trading partner, for example, like China, the US, has been improved in terms of their economic growth. And then we see that in terms of domestic economy, also consumption will also increase more with the boosting from the government social protection program to all the level of society. And this will, of course, will also boost the consumption of the people in terms of the household appliance, clothing, food, beverage, and other products. And then in terms of the economic sector, we see here that the export is quite strong in terms of manufacture and trade. In terms of online sales has been increased, and trade motor vehicle also increased. In terms of spatial area, most of the provincial area in Indonesia has been improved, although some areas still in contraction. For example, Bali, it is because of the tourism has been quite decreasing now. But hopefully, with the distribution of vaccine and improve of confidence of the traveler, it will be back in business. I think we hope that this will recover soon, and other other provinces are related to the export of CPO and mining. And we can see also domestic economy recovery gain momentum because the improve of public mobility, and in some regions, provincial area also increase. So this is optimistic view, and also, you know, the real activity of the people. So it means that although some provincial area still in the contraction zone, but it will be improved soon because of the improve of business activity. And we can see here the export also has been increased. Particularly, there has been increased demand from the US and China. We see iron and steel export to China has been increased, and also nickel, I think, also is in China and other country, for example, South Korea and also India. And in here, import as a result also improved to support our export. And here, the improved economic condition also supported by the improve in the omnibus law to create job creation. This is encourage optimism in Indonesian investment, especially to create a more favorable business climate and certainty in the licensing process in Indonesia. So that's why I think this is physical progress in this has been increased, road development program, and also power plant. So hopefully the national strategic project will also be continue to develop. In here we can see that the commitment from the government also in terms of on how we can support the economic growth is through the fiscal stimulus. The government has provided by having deficit 2021. So it means that there will be additional funding to support the real sector. And we can see here that the government is really committed to the very, very good sector. For example, here to the infrastructure, food security, tourism, and also health sector. So we believe that this will support the economy further. And then in terms of the infrastructure budget, we can see here on the right-hand side that there's an increase to 400 trillion rupiah. It's maybe around $10 billion. Yeah. So it means that this will keep the economy going. So in terms of the balance of payment also remain solid. We can see here the overall balance is surplus. This is the first time that Indonesia experienced a surplus balance of payment after a few years. So we can see here that the capital inflow and also from the trade has been improving. So this support Indonesian capability to add additional buffer for Indonesian FX reserve to $133 billion to support our foreign debt and also other liability from import. And in here, we can see also rupiah has been strengthened, supported by BI, Bank Indonesia stabilization measure. We see that in terms of the level, it is now contained between 14,000 rupiah to 14,500 rupiah. And also now Indonesian rupiah has been appreciated. For example, point to point, it's been appreciated by 3.9%. Year to date from last year, it's been appreciated by 1.33%. So this will provide also stability for your foreign exchange risk. So I hope that this will, improve your confidence about Indonesian. So Bank Indonesia will provide our fully effort to stabilize foreign exchange market in Indonesia. So inflation risk also very important for lenders and also investor. I also will convey the very good news in Indonesia. Inflation is remain low and managed very stable. This is basically supported by very strong, although strong demand, but also we have adequate supply. So hopefully this will also create stability for the price of the products. And then in terms of the financial sector, Bank Indonesia and Indonesian Financial Services Authority, we work together to supervise the banks. So the bank's condition now is resilience. They have very strong capital. Now, in terms of the Basel capital ratio is around 22 to 23%. This is far above the minimum threshold that is 8%. And also the credit risks are maintained very well. So we are very thankful with our bankers. They have very, very good management system. Although now we have a contraction in economy, but they can manage the credit risk well. But we have a little bit concern, yeah, related to the loan growth in Indonesia, yeah. But this is actually a natural issue because aligned with the slowing down in the economy. So usually the loan growth is also slowing down as well. So we hope that by the time when the economy rebound and back to positive track, so the credit growth will also improve. So in here, we also showing that the trend of the Indonesian mining and metal export is basically overall is stable, basically, although we see that here the coal has been very, exciting here. The development is very good. And nickel also with the increasing demands of the battery EV and the automotive production and also other production. So hopefully this will maintain in the future. And then finally, I would like also to share our optimism that Indonesian economy will be growth further in 2021 to 4.8 to 5.8%, and the inflation rate will also be maintained around 3%, and the current account deficit will hopefully be managed around 1 to 2%. In 2025, we hope that we will achieve the economic growth is in the range of 5.5 to 6.1. Inflation rate also managed at 2.5 plus minus 1%. So it means between 1.5 to and 3.5. And the current account deficit is also managed between 1.5 to 2.5. So I hope that with the synergy with the government and also the Indonesian Financial Services Authority, we hope, and all the participants, including the investor, lenders, we hope that we can achieve as a modern and wealthy country in 2025. So we hope that you can consider Indonesia as your future investment. I think this is the perfect time to plan next strategy for next year, because we can see that there's so many good news we have in terms of not only in the economic side, but also in the business side and the legal side. So thank you again for your attention. And we are here in New York to help you, to facilitate you with the information on the macroeconomic and Indonesian financial condition. So please liaise with us. And also, if you need further information specifically related to the economic development in Indonesian provincial area, we can also help you. Thank you again, and looking forward to working with you.
Time, I will actually go ahead and introduce our next speaker. And I think there are three things that I would like to highlight from the speech of Mr. Putra. One is that our currency, Indonesian currency exchange, is stable, so you can feel good about that, and the inflation rate is low, and the trade is a surplus. So that means Indonesia is economically condition is pretty much stable. So I think like our dirigent says, Indonesia is now open for your business and investments. So next speaker is Mr. Eric James. He is the commercial director of the MKU services located in Houston, Texas. Mr. James will present the investment opportunities in alumina refinery plant projects in Indonesia. So these projects are currently in progress, and they are amongst the top priority projects receiving special support from the Directorate of Minerals and Coal. And without further ado, I will invite Mr. James to begin his presentation.
Well, good morning and good afternoon, good evening to those in Indonesia. Thank you very much for staying up late to attend this webinar. As Duri said, my name is Eric Jaimes. I'm the commercial director for MKU services here in Houston, Texas. I would like to start by thanking the Indonesian consulate here in Houston for hosting us here today. And I would like to thank the Indonesian government for the commitment and support for this event. I would also like to thank the speakers that are joining me here today. They have provided an amount of valuable information to all of us. So thank you very much. So with the presentation.
So, yes.
So next slide. So as Duri mentioned it, we're going to be talking about two very exciting projects, alumina refinery projects in Indonesia. So that's why we need to start with this disclaimer. So the disclaimer basically says, please, do not share this information, do not use this information without the written consent of MKU services. It will be a quick overview, but it will be some valuable information for all of you and for the investors around the world. Next. So let me tell you a little bit about who we are. MKU Services. We are a company located here in Houston, Texas, the energy capital of the world. We basically provide services, consulting services, as market sounding and technical advisory to projects and to the investors during all of the different phases of the project, from the early exploratory campaigns, such as the one here today, all the way to operations and everything else in between. We do have excellent subject matter experts as a part of our team. We do have presence here in Houston. We do have presence in Jakarta, in Indonesia, and we do have an excellent network around the world, in all continents, in Australia, in Latin America, in Europe, and we have access to different foreign financial institutions, as well as different projects that people can invest in. Next. So just to give you a quick overview of the agenda, we're going to talk about so just to make sure, we're going to talk about all of these different agenda items from an investor point of view. We're going to talk about Indonesia at a glance. We're going to talk about the country risk profile, what the mining industry means to the Indonesian economy, some opportunities and challenges. Then we're going to get into a quick overview of the two projects, of the two refinery projects that we have here today. And then we talk about the next steps. We're going to have to break this into two different, because of time constraint, and also because we want to make sure that when we get into the details of the projects, we actually provide you with all the details that you're required to make good and sound decisions. So as the director of MINERBA said, the general directors, Indonesia has an amazing amount of talent, which is very important for the investors. I mean, they don't have to go outside of the country to look for engineers or for technical personnel. This personnel is actually available in the country, highly educated, highly technical, and at the same time is a very young and skilled population. The average working age for the Indonesian work population is about 28 years old. Very young, very experienced, something that will add a lot of value when you're running the economics for a project. You're looking for people that can come in, do the work, people that have the training and the skills. And when you're running the economic analysis for a project, that is something that is very, very important. Also something that is very important when you're running the economic analysis and the risk analysis of a project, especially if you're trying to make an investment overseas, is the political stability and the maturity of the country. This is something that we had heard today Indonesia has. We have seen the commitment from the Indonesian government. We've seen the different agencies taking all the steps. We see the confidence of the governments, such as the US government. We heard from Mrs. Paula Swain today on how they're building the relations. There was an MOU signed this year with the Indonesian government, which is something very, very significant, because it tells you how the good relations and the trust there is in the Indonesian system. Next, please. So this is the Asian country risk profile provided by the World Bank in 2019. The Asian means the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. One thing to highlight here is, if you look at on your left-hand side, the profile is color-coded. Goes from green, is very low risk, to red, that's a very, very high risk. If you look at Indonesia, Indonesia does not have anything that's high risk or very high risk rank. One thing to highlight also on the right-hand side is the mining reserves. Indonesia is #1. And those are proven reserves by different international agencies. So this is very, very significant. And, the previous presenter, gave us a profile, and also the general director of MINERBA gave us a profile of the different mining commodities in the country. So, it's very, very highly ranked. Also, as far as resolving insolvency is also green. Paying taxes for international investors is also a very low risk. And for some of the other activities that might be in orange, which is medium risk, the Indonesian government has taken very important steps this year in 2020. Remember, this rank is from 2019. The Indonesian government has taken very important steps to make sure to keep on going up, on the rankings and be very competitive. If you look at the two main competitors that Indonesia has in the region are Vietnam and the Philippines. Indonesia is very committed to making sure to be in a very attractive country to invest in for foreign investors.
Next.
So this is just a map of the region. This is just tell us, where the different assets are located, and also it tells us, from an investor point of view, it tells us how the logistics to moving material and bringing in equipment is easy. All of these different assets have access to ports, access to import and export ports that can actually affect the cost of the project. So this is a good advantage that the region has for project financing, project economics. Next. As you can see, this is the GDP of the country in the last 5 years, from 2015 to 2019. The contribution of the mining industry, the average contribution of the mining industry to the economy in Indonesia is around 11.7%. It is expected, as we heard from the previous speakers, that the GDP will continue to increase, and also the contribution of the mining industry is also expected to grow with this. So it's a very good indicative of where things are going. We heard that the inflation is under control, very good inflation projections for the next year and for years to come. And that's also something that when you're running project economics and doing the risk analysis for a project and for international investment, that's something that is very, very important as well. So now we're going to talk about the two projects. We're going to get a little bit more into the details of the project, the challenges and the opportunities that we have in Indonesia. It's particularly for the two projects that are a priority for the Indonesian government at the moment, these two alumina refinery projects. So one of the biggest opportunities we see right now is in global increase in demand for alumina projects. Indonesia is definitely one of the major players in the industry. The government, the president, and the cabinet members are very committed to making sure that Indonesia is well placed globally in this industry. So Indonesia has a lot of strengths. One of them is the strategic location. 54%, neighboring China is expected to consume 54% of the alumina. The world's alumina, and being that Indonesia is a neighboring country, as far as the logistics and the cost of transportation, not only of equipment to develop these projects, but also the final product is very important as well. The technology that is being used is field-proven technology. And the companies that are developing these projects have a really good track record for developing projects in the region. So as we all know, 2020 has been a difficult year for all of us. From early in the year, from February until now, everybody, all of us have been affected by the pandemic. That has prevented some of the investors to go and do site visits, to meet face-to-face with the project owners, to visit the sites and make a good assessment of the projects. So China has also, of course, shut down their borders. So bringing in equipment has been a challenge. The transportation has been a challenge, and not only from China, but from anywhere in the world. So locally, it seems like, now we have 2 or 3 vaccines in the market. 2 of them have been approved. There have been, one of them has been approved in the UK and as well as here in the US. More vaccines are supposed to be approved in the near future. So hopefully with that, that will give us a better economic outlook for the next year and in years to come. Not only better economic outlook, but also a better social outlook, so that we can go back to our normal lives in the near future, and we can retake on these projects and we can make more progress. The progress that wasn't made in this year due to the restrictions that we had, hopefully that will not be there will not be roadblocks anymore in the near future. So now we're going to get a little bit into more into the details of project one. Once again, this is an alumina refinery. This particular alumina refinery is located in the Kalimantan Island. The area size of this refinery is 130 hectares, which 56 are dedicated to the refinery, 12 to the port, 47 to tailing, and 15 to others. The expected production capacity of this refinery is about 2 million tons per year. You can actually see the layout at the bottom of the screen. It's not a really good picture, but once again, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, we are going to take this into different phases. This is probably phase one of this presentation. Phase two will be getting more into the details, into the technical aspects, into the economic aspects, to those serious investors that want to learn more about these projects. One of the benefits of this project is that the supply for bauxite is about 30 kilometers away from site. So it's not very far. Also making the logistics and the cost of transportation for the products less expensive than if it was located at a farther distance. Next. The total investment for this project is about $1.2 billion, of which 42%, about $500 million, have already been deployed. $700 million are still to be deployed in the next phases, the next few phases of the project. Between 2017 and 2018, major steps were taken, major progress was made from the land acquisition to preliminary preparations to getting the EPC contractor on board. And in 2019, some partial procurement and fabrication has been completed. Right now, the project is in the construction phase, in the execution phase. It's supposed to go in, it's supposed to achieve commercial status by 2023. The current progress of this project in the execution phase is about 14%. Next. So you can see here some of the pictures of the progress. You can see the roads being built, some of the facilities. Down at the bottom, you can see some of the containers with equipment and tools being delivered to the site to continue to make progress. This is a very important slide for the investors. The expected return on investment for this project is it's about 13%. We believe, and the net present value for this project is expected at $4.2 billion. We do believe that this actually can be improved. The reason for that is because the price used to make this calculation, the expected selling price to make this calculation was $300 per ton. We're currently seeing a much higher price than this. So we do believe that also, not only with a higher price, but maybe with some optimization of the projects, this net present value and the return on investment can improve. So now the second project. This project is also an alumina refinery. Next. It is located in the same region. On the left-hand side, you can see the location in relation to the overall country. On the right-hand side, you can see the general layout. Once again, is in very close proximity to the previous project. The total investment for this project is about $1.2, $1.3 billion, very similar to to the previous project, and is also expected to produce 2 million tons per year. Next. So the facilities. So this project will have import and export jetties, power plants, water treatment plants, and of course, the living quarters for the personnel. This project has also made some really good progress in the last 2 years, from 2018, beginning with the land acquisition, clearing the land, road constructions. In 2019, July 2019, conducting the FEED. FEED means front-end engineering for the project. And then in August of this year, August of 2020, was the groundbreaking ceremony, which is basically kicks off the project. This project is supposed to reach commercial production by December of 2023, just a few months after the previous project. Next. As I said, the total investment project, you'll see a breakdown of the investment of the $1.2, $1.3 billion investment. This project has an IRR of 15.5 return on investment, an NPV of 2.2, almost $2.2 billion. The reason why, you may ask, why the IRR might be a little bit higher is because the assumption for the price was 358 versus 300. So that's also another reason why we think the previous project might have a little bit of a better return on investment than we showed on this particular slide. Next. So, as I said, we just wanted to give you a quick overview of the 2 projects that we have at hand, the 2 priorities right now for the government. But where do we go from here? What's next? So the phase 2 of this conversation will take us to more technical details, getting more into the CapEx, getting more into the sensitivities of the return on investment, NPV, shareholder equity, bank financing, and any additional opportunities that these 2 projects might present. If you have any questions, really to let us know that you're interested in learning more about these 2 projects, you can email us at management@mkuservices.com. And now we're open for questions.
Thank you. Okay. So we will continue with the next speaker, if that's okay with you. Okay.
After 3?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Eric, for a very nice presentation. And like I said, these are the top priority projects being supported by the Indonesian government. And any questions you have can be directed to the management at mkuservices.com. So now I'd like to proceed to our final speaker, Mr. Ardi Muawin. Mr. Muawin is the Director of the Energy Resources Industrials of Deloitte Consulting SEA. Mr. Muawin will present a topic on Indonesia bauxite and nickel market outlook. So without further ado, I'll invite Mr. Muawin to begin his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Dudi. Good morning, everyone. I think it's almost morning here as well in Jakarta. First of all, I like to thank for having me here as well. My regard to the Ambassador Dr. Nana Yuliana, Director General Dr. Ridwan, and Mr. Nurul Ikhwan. So I'm being asked for the last speaker today, and I'm going to talk a bit more about the Indonesia bauxite and nickel market outlook. So just give you a brief about myself. I'm a director of Deloitte Consulting Southeast Asia, and I am handling practice in the energy resources and industrials. So I think earlier, one of the speakers, I think Pak Nurul also, and Pak Dwi from Bank Indonesia, are talking about the impact of COVID. And we're seeing as well that the impact on the COVID had quite on the global economy, specifically on the commodity. And we look at from the three separate angles. One is on the prices, as you can see from the, let me see, let me try to have a pointer here. So if you look at the left-hand side, commodity price has been down from the 0 point, except gold, and we're probably going to see this a bit further down the road, given the the still uncertainty in the economy globally in general. Because of this, price is down in the last 8 months, 9 months. We also seeing that market cap of the overall business in this commodity-based business basically down, from oil and gas all the way down to the nickel and the rest of the mining industry is down. Probably the except is probably gold. However, there's always a bright side in the future. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. We see that the forecast of price in the midterm, we're seeing actually rising. As you can see here, especially what I'm going to talk today on the nickel. You see that nickel is expected to rise rapidly in the future as well. This is why we are here, and we like to talk about the potential investment on the nickel and bauxite as well. So with this sort of sorry. The way we look at it in the long run, with this sort of disruption, COVID, Deloitte like to, there's some changes the way the leadership of the mining company look at. There's the 5 different things that leaders in the company will see that on the economy side, there's going to be some localization of supply chains. We're actually seeing this. Some of the Chinese mining companies, they start moving their supply chain closer to the mining side because of disruption of the supply chain because of this global COVID stuff. And this is not only in the mining, but this is also outside mining as well. Second one is very important, is the balance of power with the government and the politics side. And that's why we'll talk later on that the Indonesian government is actually very committed. And the way we see it is that the government wants to build industry, and they take more responsibility and effort to get this done. And of course, we talk a lot about the society, the future of work, especially the workforce, technology-wise, and environment, as one of the speakers mentioned today about the environment requirement that decarbonization and all this renewable will also play into account in the future. Going forward, the Indonesian government is actually quite committed in building the mining downstream. The way we look at it is that instead of just selling at the ore base, they're trying to add in more value. And this is what very important, the message that the government trying to tell everyone, start beginning in 2009 all the way until now in 2022, that steadily trying to build the downstream industry, not just on the mining side. From the issuance of the mining law and back in 2009, that in 5 years the government will ban the mineral ore export, and latest in 2020, nickel ore basically stopped being exported outside Indonesia. And along the way, with the commitment, the attraction of the government, this is giving the certainty to the investors to come to invest on the downstream side. And on top of it, this is also very important that it's not just stop in the nickel product, but the government also trying to build all the way down into the EV battery. As all we know that electric vehicles market, the growth of the cells is basically amazing the last 5 years. And this is, the government see this as an opportunity, not, to build further down the road, increasing more value in the value chains of this nickel business. So as you see here that the state-owned company, Mine ID, is basically, you know, the mining holding company, is a building Indonesia battery holding company, which again, this is going to be the major customers of the nickel mining business downstream in Indonesia. And also they attracted investors, foreign investors like GEM company-like consortium, LG, Cattle, and Tesla actually about to ink a deal with the government. And this is very, very good, both for the nations, also for the industry. That means the demand of the nickel product, nickel-containing battery product, will also help to spur the growth of the industry. The as I think Pak Dirjen Ridwan mentioned earlier today, that the nickel smelter was already built around 11 and 25 in progress. Alumina refinery and smelters also already built around 19 and 29 in progress. This is so good progress, and this we see that this is also show that the government is committed, consistent with the policy, not flip-flopping, which is again is very good for the foreign investors especially. And this is not just for nickel, but nickel is some sort of a front runner because of, again, the nature of the business, the moment where the sales growth, the demand of nickel has been going high because of the recent EV growth. So with that in mind, we hope that, you know, beyond 2020, especially in 2022, where the total ban for the remaining of the mining ore, including bauxite and alumina, which that will become happen in 2020. Again, this will also show that government is consistent, trying to build the downstream a business of the mining. And with the hope in 2024, everything will roll out from the battery manufacturing plant, and also the alumina refinery and smelters operate around 48. This is again shows that Indonesian business and the mining business start moving up, creating more value, which is good for the nation, and it's also good for the investor that's already being in the business. And also, and as you know, as part of this discussion today, the goal is that we can attract more investment, especially on the bauxite and alumina refinery, to support the goal of the government and the nation. So the next slide, I like to talk again. This is to show that the government is very consistent in building nickel downstream. It's not flip-flopping, because, you know, a lot of the investors will say, hey, what about if we lack of the ore, the raw material for my downstream? And because of the government is consistent, basically banning the export of the ore, this is it is very important. And as you see here, a lot of the nickel demand is driven by the nickel-containing battery. And Indonesia is bidding, as I mentioned earlier, is bidding to be one of the key producers of the EV battery. And the government is all out, luring a lot of investors. Tesla is coming to town. And this is very a good news for the nickel business in Indonesia. Again, as Mr. Hames mentioned earlier, there's a lot of opportunity that draw good economics with the sales of EVs start getting higher at the proportion of the overall global sales in car. As you see here, is along the way, it's going to increase about 30–40% in the long run. This is good news. While in Indonesia, based on, you know, what we gather information, that the government also expect that the EV sales is going to grow as well. And with that growth on EV, that means there's also the EV both on two-wheel and four-wheel. With that demand high in the EV, that at the same time, it will create another more demand on the battery, which based on what we know, the Indonesian battery holding supply, the one that I mentioned earlier, a state-owned company, there's requirement is about 140 gigawatt hour in 2030. That is going to go, you know, increase. And this is, again, it's a good play if the investors want to come to Indonesia and start building both on the nickel or even on the EV battery side. So then the next question will be, do Indonesia still have enough nickel ore? Yes, the answer is yes. If you look at here, Indonesia for the next 5-10 years will still be a major player in the globe, still supplying about 15-16% of the global supply of nickel ore. So that's to give you assurance from the supply side. On the customer side, this nickel mining business still provide good opportunity, and this is basically has been shared by the business on the EV side and also the nickel mining side, where the smelter is currently being built. So again, this is the point I'm trying to make here, is that this shows that the government in Indonesia is very consistent building downstream, and this consistency is basically taking to the next slide, which the government trying to build the bauxite aluminum industry. Earlier today, the Pak Dwi from the Bank of Indonesia mentioned about the recovery of the economy. As you see here, yes, there's a dip in 2020, just like everyone else. The dip of the Indonesian growth is negative, and it's also China. And as somebody mentioned earlier, China is still taking 52% of the aluminum demand of the world, which again, proximity to Indonesia, this is still very provide very strong case of the demand from Indonesia aluminum product. And again, this global demand on aluminum in the long run, both global, the global and at the same time the China demand is still robust for the long run, and this will provide cushion for the Indonesian aluminum business, just to show that hey, you have a robust demand, which means your economic model will provide a good return, as earlier speaker mentioned. That's on the global side, but you look at the local side, similar to the nickel. When you look at the nickel, hey, there's EV battery, but we have to understand that aluminum play a bigger role in the Indonesian strategic project. As you know, President Jokowi is building a massive national project across the archipelagos, and hopefully if COVID is gone, the capital city project will be there, and then that means the requirement of aluminum will be there. Some other businesses you see here, you compare the blue and the green chart, you can see that there's a still potential of gap that being between the production and consumption, this is why the government trying to lure more investors to meet this requirement on the aluminum supply side. So if looking from the outlook perspective, if I were the investment company, you look at this, hey, there's a robust demand on the global side. There's also a gap in the supply versus demand on the local side. And we know that a lot of projects in Indonesia that require a supply of aluminum product. This is something that from the outlook point of view is great. And yes, with the economy, is expected Indonesian economy to return back pre-COVID era in 2021 and going beyond. This is something that I think a lot of investors will look after. So with this, from the nickel side, government so consistent, trying to build the downstream business. Now they're doing the same thing with aluminum, and this is what we see, that again, from investor point of view, consistency and environment that they can thrive is very important, because this is how you project your 10-15 years cash flow. So at the end, I like to mention that from what we see, the outlook of the mining downstream is quite great. We are going to the right direction. And this is basically led by the example of the government, the administrative of Indonesia, led by Pak Jokowi and the Ministry of Energy and Resource, the Director General on the mineral and coal, that they are very committed, and they show all out efforts basically to provide a certainty and the proper environment for us, for the investment for the companies to grow. And this is very important. And, you know, just like earlier speaker mentioned, that Indonesia from the mining side is actually the risk is quite low because the law is there and the government is committed, and a lot of, you know, tax holiday and things like that, a lot of facilities from the licensing and all the way down to the operation. But last not least is that we are Deloitte. We have been in the business in Indonesia for a while. We've been supportive to the government. That's why you know, we heard tonight and basically sharing what we thought about the business. So any question, inquiry or whatever, feel free. That's it. And again, thank you very much. I think this has been very good, the webinar, although it's quite late night in Indonesia, but thank you very much. I give it back to the moderator. Thank you, Pak Dudi.
Intentional, but because, you know, everyone sees, you know, the prospects and the progress of what the government of Indonesia is doing, it sounds to me like an organized orchestra. So you know, so I think you know, I'm pleased, and we're all, I think, very encouraged with the development. And like Director General says, Indonesia is open for business, and we are, you know, they're ready to take on to the next level. And so we don't really have any questions. I can understand it's very late over there. So I'd like to hand over to our Ambassador Nana Yuliana, and for closing, and also maybe some mentioning of the distinguished guests. And I forgot to mention that we also have in our audience Bapak Tri Hartono. He's our general manager. Pak Ibu mau request maybe some comments from him. Yeah. And also we have the head office of the Mr. Aidil Azhar from the Bank of National of Indonesia, BNI in New York. So go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak Dudi, as a moderator for this session. I know it's quite late in Indonesia, but it's still in the morning in Houston. And I would like to recognize also the presence of Mr. Wayne Forrest. I hope you still here, Mr. Wayne. Mr. Wayne is the president of American Indonesian Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. So this is also our partner, and I believe Mr. Wayne is having a very good cooperation with our Embassy of Indonesia in Washington, D.C. Mr. Wayne, are you still there? Would you say one or two words, please, Pak Wayne? Yeah, he's still there?
He's still here. Yes.
Yeah, he's still there. And also Ambassador of Indonesia in Mexico City, Ambassador Chepi. I really express my appreciation for you to join our forum. And we have already mentioned, I think, the General Manager of Bank Nasional Indonesia, Indonesia State Bank, Mr. Aidil Azhar in New York, representative of Indonesia in New York, and also Mr. Tri Hartono from the Indonesian People Bank, and also IPC in New York. And again, I also would like to recognize the presence of Mr. Milton Yang. Are you here, Milton Yang? And Patri, yeah. You want to say a few words? One word, Pa, because it's not a few words. One or two words. Yes, that's Indonesian politeness to request something. Yes, Patri, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and good evening in Jakarta. Thank you, His Excellency, Ibu Nana, for this opportunity to join this webinar. I think it's BRI, as a state-owned bank in Indonesia that has a representative office in New York right now, will fully support for this any investment opportunity from the US or the other countries in the areas to our beloved country, Indonesia. Thank you, His Excellency, Bu Nana. Return back to Ibu. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Trihartono. Any other? I would like to invite also the Deputy Chief of Mission. Milton, how are you, Milton? Yes, you joined from the beginning. Would you say your impression about this event? Hello, Milton. Milton Yang is a businessman in Houston.
Hello.
Yes, okay. Can you unmute? Unmute, please, yourself.
Am I unmuted?
Yes,
okay.
We can hear you now.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you. I appreciate the invitation to join. Unfortunately, I was able presentations. I think this is a very opportunity for those who are interested in investing in Indonesia. The green economy will be very important, and nickel will be very important to support renewable energy, especially electrification around the world. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity for investors around the world to invest in Indonesia. And I look forward to seeing what comes out of this. Thank you very much, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you, Milton. I'll miss you. We haven't had a chance to meet each other during this pandemic, COVID. And Pak Aidil, are you still there? Pak Aidil is the General Manager of State Bank of Indonesia. You still here?
Yeah, there he's
okay.
speaking. Yes.
Right. Yes, please, Pak Aidil.
Unmute. You're still muted. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellency Bu Nana, thank you very much for the opportunity to join this very great event. It is good for our Indonesian economy. And then BNI New York, as one of the state-owned bank, as a BRI2 here, fully support for any investment opportunity from US to Indonesia or any trade transaction that probably US company would like to have with Indonesian counterparties in Indonesia. So as the state-owned bank, we also not doing only commercial, but also has a spirit to encourage or to support any business from US to Indonesia and the other way around. So thank you very much. And then please let us know if, let's say, there is any opportunity or support need to be served for US companies here, and also from Indonesian company who would like to enter into the market, US market here. Thank you, Nana, Her Excellency. Thanks. Give back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Aidil. Well, before the closing, we have here for the closing remark, the Deputy Chief of Mission of Indonesian Embassy in Washington, D.C. I would like to express my appreciation to Deputy Director General for Minerals and Coal, Bapak Dr. Ridwan Jamaluddin. This is our appreciation, Pak Ridwan. Can you help me to zoom in? Yes, Pak. This is through virtual. Thank you very much, Pak Ridwan.
Thank you very much, Bu Nana, for all the support.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate this. Thank you.
I would also like to express our appreciation to Deputy Chairman Investment Planning, Pak Nurul Ihwan. This is the certificate from us as showing our appreciation. And then also Pak Dwi Putra from Bank of Indonesia.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And also for Eric. Yes, we can give it to you directly.
Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate it.
Yes, come here.
Oh,
yes, right.
Thank you very much.
And also to Pak Ardi Muawin in Jakarta. Is it in Jakarta? Jakarta.
Yeah.
Okay, now for the closing, I would like to invite the Deputy Chief of Mission of Indonesian Embassy in Washington, D.C., Mr. Iwan Freddy. The floor is yours, Pak Iwan.
Thank you, Ambassador Nana. Thank you so much. And can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes, Pak.
Yeah,
We
Pak,
can
we
hear
can
you
hear you,
very
yes.
clearly.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Nana, and all speakers for today's important forum. Pak Ridwan Jamaluddin, Pak Nurul Ikhwan, Pak Ardi Mawin, Pak Mr. Eric James, Mr. Raj Kanan, and Ms. Swain. On behalf of the Indonesian Ambassador, I would like to congratulate Ambassador Nana and her staff at the Indonesian Consulate General in Houston, and of course, Ridwan Jamaluddin and the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of Indonesia for jointly organizing this very prestigious event. Apart from promoting the potentials and opportunities of Indonesian mining and metal investment in the US market, this forum is also very crucial to start more concrete engagements in this sector in the US. So in the past few years, we've seen that the Indonesian government has launched several amendments of mining laws in an attempt to make Indonesia's energy sector more modern, secure, and competitive. So basically, this virtual investment forum serves as a platform for networking of investors, technology vendors, and mining service companies. So I hope it can be list for further collaboration between all of us. We need more auction action. While this forum is now ending, but the Indonesian consulate across the US, of course, including the Indonesian Consulate General in Houston, with the Indonesian in DC and the Ministry of Energy and Mining Resources, Indonesian Coordinating Investment Board, and the Indonesian Central Bank, and other Indonesian bank owned by state companies will continue to be the resources for you and this industry. As we all know, the work has just begun. Thank you, Ambassador Nana.
Thank you. Thank you very much, our Deputy Chief of Mission from DC, from Washington, DC, for always supporting our activity. Now, before we close our session, Pak Dudi has an announcement. Please, yes. Pak Dudi, for the next program.
Yes, so we have announcements. We will organize similar events in the next few months, and in Toronto, Canada, and that will be part of one of the biggest investors conference. Will be held around March timeframe this next year, and also we'll organize another presentation during the Mines and Money presentation in Sydney. Ask Ambassador Nana to officially close the.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much to all the speakers and all the participants who joined this event. Thank you also Pak Dudi and Pak Auli. And of course, this is not the end of our program, our activity. I'm sure that there will be more information shared by the Ministry of Energy for the coming years. 2021 will be better from this year. So Happy New Year, and also wish everyone a very great luck. Thank you, and that's conclude of our meeting. Let's have a session together. Don't forget to show your face. And
we have a token for Bunana.
Okay.
From MKU Services. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes. And now let's take a photo session all together. Bisa dibantu? Yes, from our video. Show your face and smile. Right.
This is a different way of taking pictures.
The first page, then. Next. The third page. next one. Okay, that's all. Thank you everyone and a very good evening in Jakarta. Pak Ridwan, thank you Pak. And Pak Putra, Pak Nurul. I'll
Thank
see you
you.
when I'll see you. Come and visit me in Cuba, everyone.
Wow.
Yes, we
Why
will.
not?
Yes, I will
We
transfer
will.
next week on 22nd of December, Pak. Pak Ridwan, yeah, Pak.
Good luck, Bu Nana. See you in Cuba. I've never been there.
Yeah, great. Yeah, Pak Nurul also.
Yeah.
I'll be very happy to see you there. Pak
Thank you very much,
Putra.
Terima kasih Bu
Good luck, Bu
Nana.
Thank you.
Nana.
Bapak
Take
Ibu,
care.
terima kasih banyak. Thank you.
Yeah.
Terima kasih Bu Nana. Salam buat Tante Siti kalau ketemu.
Okay, sure. Yes, Pak DSM, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Semuanya. Izinkan
Bye-bye.
kami leave. Izinkan kami leave. I'll see you
Izin, Bu.
again.